Well, here we are, boys and girls, with another edition of Thunder Speaks. Yeah, I used to name my on Pinterest. I have a whole board called Thunder Speaks, and it has all my past videos. Let's talk about self-defense. That seems to be a topic that is arising in recent events on the news. If you get my drift, if you haven't been following recent events on the news, that's okay. But if you have, then there was an incident that happened. Well, to put it simply, it involved a 17-year-old kid that was, rightly so, defending himself, and a trial surrounding that and the whole thing. So I thought I would just skip all the lurid details and talk about the concept of self-defense. Let's talk about where did it originate? Where did self-defense originate? And is it a law? Is it a moral law? Well, I've done videos about natural law, and basically natural law, or the law of the universe, says that if anybody tries to harm you, you have the right to defend yourself to the point of a kill. A kill. Yeah, I know that's a shocking word, but when you see somebody coming at you, let's put this into context now. When you see somebody coming at you aggressively, and I'm an old martial artist here. Well, maybe I shouldn't say old. I don't want to project anything on myself, but let's say I've been doing the martial arts for most of my life, at least 2/3 of my life. And if you're a martial artist, you know that when you're sparring with somebody, or when you're training, and I've trained with the best. I've trained with the best, and I've taught the best, okay? Not bragging here, but for a period of time in my life, I was deep into a specific sort of kung fu, an ancient kung fu, and the guy that was my master was an ex-vet, and he designed a system that he put an acronym on, SCARS, SCARS, and that system came to be taught to the Navy SEALs in Coronado, San Diego area, which is where I lived. And at the time that he was forming this particular, let's say, offering himself as a contractor for hand-to-hand combat to the Navy SEALs, to put it truthfully and bluntly. Well, I happened to be involved in the dojo at that time, and I was training vigorously and achieving all my belts and all that stuff, and I was more advanced, let's say, than some of the guys that came in from the base, the SEALs. And so it was a matter of us sparring, and we trained each other. But in that training, I learned one important thing, and that important thing is there's two types of martial arts. One type is kind of like the soft Tai Chi style, like Aikido and Tai Chi. Two separate practices there, Tai Chi and Aikido. Those are the softer, and then you have the harder styles that I was into also. Kung Fu San Soo would be one of those. And that is what my master taught me. But one thing that I was taught by him is that, and that permeated the whole concept of this art, was that most people think of things as self-defense, but if you can perceive that there's a threat coming your way, in other words, if you can use your intuitive powers and your energy and your chi and everything to sense any type of aggression, you see it coming before the guy even moves his hand or makes an attempt to do anything, and you strike quick. Once you know what the intent is, and it can be a small movement, a look in the eyes, any number of things that you are trained to pick up on, well, then you attack, and you attack brutally, and you attack to take them out, because you don't know what their intent is. As far as when they get aggressive, you don't have a clue as to what their real intent is. All you can do is feel the aggressive energy and either kind of blend with that in a way. You might see the lights dimming and going out stronger or whatever. That's because my door is blowing open and closed up there. You can tell what somebody's going to do if you're a trained martial artist. Now, having said that, is everybody a trained martial artist? Well, no, everybody isn't, but most people can, by their just having common sense and looking at an individual, can tell if that individual is out to mean them harm and out to possibly take their life. So when it gets to that point, and we get back to the first part of my talk here about it being a natural right, let me see if I can exemplify what a natural right might be. Let's say you're standing there, and let's say you're just a person, you're standing on the earth. Let's pretend like there's nobody else on the whole earth, but you're just standing there. And you see this individual walking up to you from off in a distance. And as that person gets closer and closer, you start to notice that that person is walking in kind of an aggressive manner, kind of like a predator type manner. Well, that should give you a clue right there as to there may be danger coming. It's body language, okay? It's called body language. Now, how much body language do you need when some guy's running after you with a chain? Do you have to, think about that as I got to identify his body language? Well, no, that's more in your face and coming right for you type situation. Well, in that type of situation, you'd have to be a real clown and a real dumb ass not to take action immediately. Either to preserve your life, you can yes, you can run away. If you can run faster and the guy doesn't have a gun with a bullet that's going to outrace your however fast you can go. Yeah, I mean, you size things up and you look at things and you go, okay, well, I'm going to get the fuck out of here. And I think I can do that. You evade. You avoid situations, okay? But, having said that, if you're in a situation where you don't think that you can evade them any longer and you have to face up to what is going on, when you get to that situation, you take whatever steps are necessary to eliminate that adversary. Again, I'm saying to you, you do not know what that person might have in their mind. They may be flipped out on drugs. Okay, they may be drunk with alcohol. They might have just gotten into a fight. You don't know. So your best bet and your only bet is to take the motherfucker out. That's what you do. That's what a warrior does. And the whole concept of self-defense being a right, an inherent right, not having anything to do with the Constitution or, well, the law says, well, I got news for you. This law came into effect way the fuck before you ever wrote a law about it. It's just as natural as that story I was talking to you about. Now let's take it further. The person's getting closer and closer, and he raises his fist, okay, and in his fist he has a weapon. Well, basically that's what happened in this recent trial that is surfacing now against, let's say, a young individual that had a firearm. This young individual ran as fast and as far as he could to get away from the taunts that were being hurled at him. Among other things, actual physical objects, people standing around with guns. We're in a war zone here. So as soon as this kid recognized that there was a threat and he tried to avoid a threat, and kid, I'm saying he's 17, 18 years old. He's a kid to me. He tried to back off. He went and retreated with his good gun etiquette of keeping his finger outside the trigger guard, which is gun etiquette. You don't put your finger inside the trigger guard unless you intend to use it. You're always treating your gun as loaded, and you have your finger on the outside the finger guard. That's what this kid did. And he ran and tried to get away from the trouble. Wasn't out to prove himself to be a hero or anything. And what happens? Well, the enemy, or let's say the adversary, proceeded to run full speed at him with an object in his hand. And so here's this kid, and he's backing off and turns around. And he starts running and running. He says, I can get away from this maybe. And he gets into this situation where he's cornered, and he's got cars around him and people. And so he turns around, looks at this guy attacking him still. Well, what choice does he have? He has a weapon in his hand. And the guy fully knows that he has a weapon in his hand. Doesn't matter whether you take the motherfucker out with your fists or take him out with a bullet. Or any instrument that you might grab, any tool, like in the Bourne series, They'll grab a rolled up piece of paper. Oh, hey, that's an old trick. That works real well. A rolled up magazine, okay, a stone, a pen in your pocket. That's a martial art too. All this stuff that I'm talking about is called naked kill. You've seen it in the Bourne movies. They use anything that they can, including their fingers or their glasses or whatever, their hat. But the point I'm trying to make here is that he had a weapon, and it was an easy weapon. He saw the threat, and that's it. That's the definition of self-defense, is seeing somebody to mean you harm and taking them out. Doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure this shit out, okay? Doesn't take a rocket scientist. You just know by your inherent feeling. Because when you feel a threat, the human animal is intuitive also, and when it feels a threat, it goes into flight or fright syndrome, fright and flight. Okay, first thing you do is you get fright, and the next thing you want to do is get the fuck out of there. I'm passionate about this stuff because There's just too many people taking advantage of other people. And this kid was in the middle of defending businesses that were being burned to the ground. And who was burning these businesses to the ground? Well, it was about a year ago, and it was I won't use the initials, let's just say bigoted, low-life morons. Okay? Bigoted. Notice the first letter, low-life morons. That's who was doing this rally and it was a violent rally, and they were destroying cars and vehicles and burning buildings and doing all kinds of shit. I'm not down with that. I'm not down with that, and I applaud any kind of militia group or any kind of person in a group that would try to stop that event from happening. I consider them to be courageous and to be heroes. If their intent really was just to stop people from destroying things, there is absolutely nothing wrong with that action. There's nothing wrong with that action. So when a person gets pursued, cornered, has to shoot, then has to run again, and has two more individuals attack him, that is when you're trying to get out of a situation like that and you have a weapon or fists or anything, you're going to use whatever you need to do to protect yourself. That's self-defense. Old as the hills. Now, what is this? What are they trying to do in this society now to, when this verdict came out, I went on and I went around to the MSN. I figure, who's the worst one that's going to spin this in the worst possible way? MSN. They didn't have too much to say. They were kind of taken back that the jury would come out with 3 not guilty verdicts. That was, to me, that's a boost. Okay, that's a boost. That's a no-brainer. That makes me feel good. Anytime anybody stands up and has the balls and the courage of a true warrior and knows how to handle his weapon in an expert manner, I got to go with that. I got to go with that because we need more of that. And that's the problem I have with people out there that call themselves truthers and blah, bitty, blah, 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 and on and on and on, and the so-called patriots. No, this kid was a true, if you want to go by that definition, a true patriot. And of course you have to be going by that definition. To label him a patriot, you have to be going by the definition of the Constitution and what that entails. So I don't want to hear all these people blabbing out there, these truthers and so-called patriots, when they're about always remain peaceful and let them. That comes from the whole Christian thing of turning the other cheek, which is a total bogus. We don't know where that saying came from because Christ didn't say a lot of the stuff they said he said. I can't believe what people buy into. Now, having said all this, and you know where I stand on this. On this level, I stand with self-defense, protecting yourself. Let's not forget this whole thing started over a black man who got shot by the police. So that tells you maybe who the group was that was there protesting and burning and whatever. Never mind that the black man was attacking his wife with a knife and trying to abduct his child. Well, anybody that does anything like that, all I got to say is, first of all, you're that color, and second of all, you should know the mentality of the police department, which I am no fan of. There has been a battlefield in America as far as shooting deaths of civilians by cops, okay? That's what the whole thing started over. So the person that got himself in that situation should have known, if he had two brain cells that he could rub together, that if he did an action like that and because of his color, that shit was going to come down on him like a ton of bricks. If you don't have enough sense to figure that out, well, then aren't you kind of just asking for it? Aren't you just saying, well, I'm casting all that shit to the wind and I don't give a fuck. Instead of keeping a low profile. That's what this shit was over. It was about that dude, which led to all this other stuff. And I'm telling you, these protests, okay, this is mob violence. This isn't a protest, okay? What was going on and what that kid was involved in was mob violence. When it's mob violence, when a bunch of people get together and they start fucking things up, burning and pillaging and starting fires and pushing shit in the street, setting dumpsters on fires. Oh, well, yeah, is that a demonstration that's allowed? Well, according to some politicians, it is. That's a good thing, man. So they foment this shit. And of course, the mainstream media comes in later and puts this unbelievable fucking spin on it. And who do they focus on? The victims and the crying mothers and never mind that their son was an out and out fucking criminal, okay? A nutcase going to a rally that he's not even the same color as what the rally is for. Yeah, that's another thing too. Why are all these people that are not that color involving themselves in this protest? You think it would be the brothers, okay? That just tells you right there that there's an infiltration by nutcases and people that are psychopaths and people that just want to go along for the excitement and any number of reasons. And what happens? Well, those people are co-opted by infiltrators into the group. Okay, like CIA, FBI. They'll direct people a certain way. Yeah, they'll act like they're part of the group, and it's called instigation. So this is what we really have facing us. What we have facing us is instigation by the three-letter agencies. We have a total corruption of the system. We have a system that is trying to kill everybody in this United States, in this whole vicinity, if not the world. And so some kid stands up, some 17-year-old kid stands up and has the fucking backbone to say, I'm going to go out there and help people as a kind of instant militia, which is what the founding fathers said should exist anyway. Get my drift here? This is unbelievable that it is getting to this point, but it is believable. It's very believable by watching current events. Now, here's the kicker thing, and I always got to add this because I'm not one that just accepts things at face value. I believe self-defense is a right. Now, all this stuff that's going on right now, that's going to be politicized. it already is politicized. It became politicized as soon as the kid was arrested, and certain high up people were going, oh, that's, and I mean the highest up, are saying things like, that's white supremacy. What makes them an authority on fucking white supremacy? And even in the trial, they tried to frame the guy or to influence the jury by using the term active shooter, which isn't used in that context normally at all. It's not about somebody run away and trying to defend themselves. It's about some nutcase that walked into a school and was an active shooter and had an agenda. Oh, I'm telling you, man, you got to watch this fucking media. Even the prosecution tried to say active shooter. I mean, that guy was a nut. He took an AR-15, showing the jury, and he held it up to his shoulder. He didn't use any kind of gun etiquette. He pointed the gun directly at the fucking jury to maybe send a message or to scare them, and like, well, this could have been you. Well, they didn't fall for that shit at all. In fact, they were probably pretty offended by it. Isn't it wonderful that I can do a video without even mentioning names? Because this could be a fictional story. So there's any reason at all that you people shouldn't have this knowledge. That you shouldn't have enough knowledge and enough sense to know what's going on. Yes, things that happen, events that happen, can be orchestrated, okay, just like I said before with the dialectic, Hegelian dialectic. All this could be orchestrated, okay, to cause division and turn one side against the other and to inflame a war-type environment, okay. But it doesn't fucking matter as regards to self-defense. That's why I'm framing this in terms of self-defense. Doesn't fucking matter who's doing this or who's doing that or who's controlling this or that. All you can go by is what the fuck you see. And so you have to make decisions on what you see. It's not a bad thing in the context of self-defense to champion a side, okay, if that's the way you want to put it, to champion a side that believes in that concept of self-defense. That's just a no-brainer. It's a no-brainer, people. So we'll see what shall arise out of this latest development. Wonders never cease, Now you would think, this just by reasoning of what I've seen in the past, well, already they're vilifying, almost every outlet, mainstream outlet is vilifying the verdict. There is no justice, which is just a diametrically opposed, 180-degree opposed to what it really was justice, okay? Hello? It was deserved justice. It was instantly delivered karma. And had every right to be delivered in the way it was delivered. Will this erupt into some kind of big rioting all over the place? Well, it could. It could. That would be interesting. That would be real interesting. All these patriots that were kind of making this person a poster boy, and rightly they should. Maybe that's what they need, is a poster boy, okay? Not that you should need that, but that could be a upside to getting people off their ass and realizing that they're under fucking tyranny. No, I'm an advocate for, I have always been an advocate for gun rights under the Constitution, which is far different than what it evolved to later on, denying people, all kinds of people, vets and other people, the right to have a, hello? Go fuck yourself. That's not what this is about, okay? It's not what it's about. So I've always been for the right to bear arms, and I've always been, hell, I'm a gunsmith, and I'm at one time I was a federal firearms dealer. FFL, federally licensed to sell firearms. I got out of that myself. Why? Because I didn't like the fucking intrusion and the fucking constant harassment from the government. Didn't take me long to realize, hey, I don't really want to do this anymore. Don't need to. And I know inside out, forwards and backwards, all about gunsmithing. Since I was little, got it from my dad. The interest, that is. So, amongst other things, been there, done that, and so I see all sides to the issue. But I've seen the sides of the gun grabbing lot for a long, long time. I have seen what they're up to. I have seen their communist, and it is a communist agenda. And I'm not necessarily saying communist in the sense of like the McCarthy era and all that. I'm saying communist is a way of thinking, okay? And they just put the label communist on it. In reality, even the Savior's Son Christian concept is a communist or a communal type concept, which has infected the masses, okay? And this is the evidence of it, because then all of a sudden they figure, well, shit, we should just call this what it is and control the people outright, just like communism. And here we are, going along, watching all this stuff implode and explode and implode and all this shit happening around us. If you got half a brain, you're going to realize that there's some kind of shift coming up. You think? It is building up here. It has been for a long time, though. And, it's like a volcano. You never can tell when that sucker's going to blow. You can't tell when that baby's going to blow. I mean, it'll sit there and it'll smoke and it'll spout out little things and cause little rivers and flows and lava flows and shit like that. But you don't know if it's really, or when it's really going to just boom. And you don't want to see that, baby. But here's the deal. I'm firmly convinced that Mother Earth has this all under control. I give my allegiance to Mother Earth. I give my allegiance to the planet, because the planet has a mind and an intelligence that is so far beyond what you could even comprehend. You're just a little microbe on in the body, on the body of the planet, Mother Earth, her intelligence. And it was said that back in, let's say, I'll give you a little bit of Gnostic intel here. It was said that back in March 2011, from then to 2014, there was a huge shift on this planet. Of course, everybody was looking at it in 2012 because the Mayan prophecy, Aztec thing, they were looking for it then, but actually it started in 2011 and made a huge shift to 2014, and then that's when the planet, the actual Mother Earth, the brain, the spirit of the planet started making a shift. It was way back then. It was way back then in 2011. Then in 2014, the shift was just kind of underway. It's underway now. That's what we're seeing. That's why we're seeing the upheaval on the planet. Now, this upheaval might very well be good in the long run because Sophia is mutating man from, she's improving his DNA, and with that she's improving the consciousness because she's correcting everything. She's correcting the outside evil forces. She's correcting the anthropos, mankind. It's an evolving thing, and I am speaking to you now as a shaman, not as a person giving commentary on some kind of trial. I kind of segued here. This is not something that people should lose sleep over or worry about. I'm just making commentary. Because I'm a storyteller and I like to still tell stories and I like to give my thoughts on it. Well, you might call it a spin. I mean, you could call it a spin, I guess. But it's a spin that comes from an inherent feeling and a truth. It's not a false spin. There's false spins. There's deliberately misleading propaganda and bombardment with repetitive memes and all kinds of things out there in the universe that they're constantly bombarding you with. Okay, but really what you got to get right down to is the basic nitty-gritty of what natural law is. When you're moving around in this third dimension here, okay, in this portion of reality, let's say, when you're moving around here, then you got to think about what's going on around you, and you can make commentary on it, you can be on top of it, because what does that make you? That makes you an observer. And you can think outside the box and you can say, okay, well then we're having this shit arise. Where is this going to go? Where's this going to go? Is there some kind of agenda here? Is it going to go south? Is it going to go? And that's fun just to play that game, kind of like a chess game. Seeing what the mass collective consciousness is up to and watching their chess moves on this big chessboard, okay? Or the chess moves. But you got to look, like I said in other videos, at the meta narrative, not the small narratives. The meta narrative, okay? And that's your solace because you're grounded in Mother Earth. There's a point where you just, not my circus, not my monkeys, and I don't give a fuck. Let it go the way it's going to go. I'm staying centered and I'm in my world, okay? And my world has definite boundaries. definite boundaries. It's like the wingspan theory in martial arts where you hold your hands out to the side, and if anybody comes to within that wingspan, inside that circumference, as you spin around, anybody comes inside that, they're up for a problem. They're in your space. They flew into your airspace. They flew into your fucking airspace. And they're a bogey. Hey, I got my Kalika warrior shirt on today. Can't really see it, but it is. Oh, well, there goes my microphone. It is Kali, the goddess. Okay. The goddess energy, the warrior energy of the universe. I think you can still hear me here. Got it hooked to my necklace here. All right. Well, I guess I should leave it there. I'm yapped enough today. But it was imperative that I do this because I know all kinds of people are going to come out and say all kinds of things, man, and get in trouble supposedly. No, I just look at this as a story, okay, of, let's say an omen. Let's say an omen in our dreaming lucid reality. Let's look at it that way. And then you determine what meaning you want to put on that omen in your life. All right. Adios, amigos and amigas.